Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the plant room. So I thought today would be a good day to give you an update on those struggle bus plants. I don't know if you remember, about 9 months ago, I showed you a few plants that I was struggling with, and all of you were very helpful, gave me some advice, and I just wanted to give you a quick update so you could see how they're doing and how they've progressed, or maybe not progressed, since the last time you saw them. So if you like this type of content, stick around. All right, guys, I'm going to start with this plant that I cannot pronounce, and I'm not even going to try. It's a wanichi. The first part of the name I just cannot say, so I'm not even going to try to butcher it for you. But 9 months ago, when I showed you this plant, she was living in potting medium, and I think she had maybe 4 or 5 leaves, if that. And I think on that video, which we'll try to link below or above, I'm not sure where my husband will put it, I cut off some of the leaves. Well, this is her today. Look at her. Isn't she beautiful? What I did different was I put her in pond. So she's in pond in a self-watering pot. Now, here are some things that I've learned about this plant, not via research, but just by trial and error. When I had her in soil, apparently I wasn't keeping her moist, wet enough. So that's where the pond came in handy for me. Number two, she's thirsty. She is thirsty. I fill this reservoir maybe twice a week, every 3 to 4 days, because the minute she runs out of water, at the next day or the day after, she's like this. Looks like she's just dying. She's fainting. So I found in my experience in this room that if I keep that reservoir filled, she's happy. Another thing that I've noticed is that when I don't let her get dry and she stays moist, I don't see the webbing. I don't see the indication of spider mites. Now, for me, this plant was prone to spider mites. I would always consistently see right here in this crevice the little webbing of the beginnings of spider mites. So I found myself constantly rinsing this plant down and, spraying her with insecticidal soap. I want to knock on wood. It's been months since I've had to do that. And as you can see, she's pushing out new growth. Let me try to turn. And she's kind of wonky because of where she lives. So you'll notice she looks full here. And then when I turn her around, she kind of looks a little narrow in the back. And it's because she's shoved is not so nice, but she really is shoved on that shelf right there. You'll see when I put her back so that we can continue to talk. But as I was saying, she's putting out all this new growth. She's got new leaves popping everywhere. So this was one that I refused to give up on, and I'm glad I didn't. She's got the most beautiful patterns in her leaves, leaf girl here. And it's just, I can't wait for her to get bigger and bigger. Maybe I can, because then I don't know where I'm going to put her. But I'm just happy that she's happy now. So that's update number one. And as I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and put her back where she lives so that we can continue to talk. So she lives right here. And we will accommodate her beeves. Yep, this is her home. Okay. Let's see. Now, you guys know I have a love-hate relationship with peperomias. I showed you this plant last time, and if you remember, she was just that one stalk She's still here. That's the good news. I guess she is doing better. Is she full? Absolutely not. Should I propagate her? Maybe, but I don't know how. I'd have to look that up. But she has put out some new growth, as you can see. And she's got some new growth coming from the bottom too. This is one of those plants that I won't say out of sight, out of mind, but I do have her in a spot where I see her, but I'm not fussing over her. I think this plant prefers to go dry before I water her. Well, that's what I've changed. Instead of hovering over her and making sure that she stayed moist or, I was giving her water, not on a schedule, but mostly on a routine when I watered everybody else in the kitchen, I've navigated away from that. So she lives in the kitchen where she's getting, I would say, indirect light from a west window. And I just have her there and I'm letting her do her own thing. Right now, as you can see, she's kind of just hanging there. She's kind of cute, I still won't buy another Peperomia. I'm not a Peperomia fan, and she was the one that made me believe that I'm just not a Peperomia fan. But for what it's worth, she's hanging on and she's kind of cute. So even in her weird, elongated, I don't know, weird, elongated way. So we'll see how she continues to do. She's going to go right back to her spot where she was, not at the moment, but as soon as the video's over, and we'll see if she continues to progress. At least she's still hanging in there. So this is the crocodile fern. Now, when I showed you this before, she had some weird growth going on. I don't even think it was a fungus, but she would have these black markings on her, which, like I can't tip her because she's got watered. But if you look at, let me see if I can do this. If you look at this leaf right here, even though she's dusty, you can see what I'm talking about as far as those black markings. Now, at the time that I here's even a better example where I cut it off. This black stuff right here. I don't know if that's a fungus or a virus or what that could potentially be. But what I will say is that she looks 10 times better than she did before. Now, the changes for this one was, as you can see, she's in a self-watering pot. It's made my life a little bit easier. We all know that ferns like to stay moist, not wet, but consistently moist. So when I water her, I do fill the reservoir. When the reservoir is empty, I give her 3 or 4 days. I touch the top, and when it feels a little bit dry to the touch, then I water her again. Currently, she's actually in a spot where she's getting super low light. She lives down here on this shelf where she's getting filtered light from these very cheap grow lights down there. So she's not getting a whole lot of light. But it seems to be okay with her because the new growth that she's putting up doesn't seem to be impacted by the low light that she's getting. And I've got some mean leaves that are not turning that ugly brown black. So I would say that we're on the path to recovery. She looks a lot better. Bad leaf. She looks a lot better than she did when we first started. So I'm happy about that. I'll go ahead and put her back in her spot so you can see I'm not even kidding. She does live down here. And that light is very low. All right. Now this guy. He's still here. Now, I don't even know what to say. I would have hoped that the progress on this one would have been more or even more evident. But I will say that it has put out new growth. So like all of these leaves up here, they're all new. And I guess I'm pleased at the fact that they're coming in and they're not crisping up or burning, getting ugly right away. Now, what I've done for this one is, again, she's in a self-watering pot. And she's actually closer to a humidifier. She's not in this room. She's in the other room. But that humidifier is set to kick off when the humidity goes below 45. So it maintains about 45 to 50% humidity in that room. Is it an improvement over what you guys saw the first time? Absolutely. She looks better. Hopefully this spring, when the growing season comes, she'll go ahead and bush out a little bit more. But I can't say that I can complain about how she looks. Now, there was one more plant in that video. It's the silver cloud. When I showed that one to you, I still have her, guys. She's not here because she lives upstairs now. But she was in the trough. I had her planted long ways as if she was a crawling plant, and she wasn't progressing that way. On the contrary, she looked pretty sad and miserable. So right after that video, what I did was I put her on a moss pole, and we'll show you a picture of what she looks like right here in the corner. But she seems to be doing better. But again, I'm still not sure if that plant is a climber or a crawler. And I say that because when she was in the trough, she wasn't rooting to that. And now that I have her on a pole, she's still not rooting to that. But what she has done is put out 3 beautiful leaves. Now, I'm going to give her a little bit more time on the pole. And I've never done this, but I've seen where people take saran wrap and use that to help, encourage that growth of the aerial roots into the pole. I'm going to try that next with her to see if that'll help her attach, because she's gotten very pretty and she's actually getting ready to put out another leaf. So I'd like to give her some added benefits, or maybe a different option on how to attach to that pole. So I'm going to try that next with her. It's been 9 months since, so we'll try that and see how that goes. And again, I'll put a picture down here so that you can actually see what she looks like. And this is my baby. So you guys know that when I showed you her the very first time, she was really on the struggle bus. I got some really good advice about this plant from you guys. One viewer in particular, I cannot remember the person's name, but thank you. Basically, the advice was, 1, I was letting it get too dry, to water it more frequently, not necessarily more, just more frequently. Don't let her dry out. 2 was to cut off the dead leaves, which I couldn't make myself do. They weren't necessarily dead, but they were very blemished and yellow. Since then, what I've done differently to help me with the humidity is I've put her into a no drainage setup. Now, we've talked about this before, and there's a lot of controversy behind that. Most people will say that when you have an Anthurium like this, they don't like to have their roots sitting in water. This one, or all of my Anthuriums and several other of my plants, are in this type of setup. What I have in the bottom of this is some, oh my goodness, why am I blanking right now? I have, the small lechusapan, spring, fart, and a little bit of, my goodness, words are escaping me. Leca. So I have a leca lechusapan mixed down at the bottom. And then I have a little mesh that goes in between the soil and where the medium starts. She's planted in a very chunky medium with a lot of big chunk perlite, some cocoa husk, a little bit of cocoa peat, and I think I have some orchid bark in there as well. So the medium is chunky. When I water her, I water all around. As you can see, she still has that around. She still has that moss collar around the top to help encourage those roots to go down. And I watch the roots. So when I water her, I water just enough so that this water sits just below where that medium starts. Since then, she's given me 3 leaves. So 3 leaves in 9 months. The blemishes that you're seeing on her is my fault. I have been letting her get too dry as of late, and that's what's causing some of these blemishes at the bottom. So inconsistent watering. But overall, I have to say that it's night and day from when I showed her to you the first time. And as far as the roots, we can see back here, and I'm sure my husband can zoom in, all the roots are nice and green. They all appear to be healthy. She has pushed some roots. I don't know how she's figured this out, but she has gotten past that mesh and pushed some roots into the water. Those roots are still nice and green. They're not brown, they're not discolored, and they're not rotting. And I think that has to do with the fact that I do let the reservoir go dry. I literally let it go dry where I can't see any visible wires. So there may be water in this little bulb down here, but when I don't see any more water visible to me, that's when I water her again. The moss at the top is a very good indication for me as to when she's drying out. But I have to say, out of all the ones that I've shown you, she's the one that's made the most progress. She's the one that has changed the most as far as her growth. This is her latest leaf. I think this one is less than a month old. So, yeah, she's doing really well. I think those were all of the plants that we looked at on that Struffle bus. And I really wanted to give you an update because for the most part, thanks to you guys and some of the suggestions I got, the plants are actually doing much better. And I couldn't be happier. So if you like this type of content and if you have any other advice for me as far as the way I'm growing these plants, don't hesitate to let me know because I don't know everything. I'm learning just like you guys are. Through trial and error, I just try stuff and see if it works for me. If you like this type of content, don't forget, like, subscribe, share with a friend, and hit that bell to get notified. Talk to you real soon. Bye.